Yes, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to brand new video. The gaffer at Brentford, Thomas Frank, has just confirmed that Ivan Toney is going to be sold by Brentford at the end of the campaign. He won't be staying for another season, and he says it's only obvious he's left with 1 year on his deal, and therefore the only option Brentford have is to sell because the player doesn't want to be there for another season. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. Arsenal have a massive advantage on this deal, very big advantage, because according to Fabrizio Romano, the player wants to play at Arsenal. The player would love to go at Arsenal. He understands that. However, there is going to be competition, and there is going to be a lot of competition. Madrid, Tottenham, Chelsea, Arsenal, all these teams are looking for a number 9. All these teams are looking for a reliable goal scorer. Who's going to get Ivan Toney? That is what we're going to do in this video. And of course, why Arsenal are in pole position, and what are some of the disadvantages of Brentford announcing this sale right at this time. We are still focusing on the Champions League, focusing on the Premier League, and somehow they've dropped a bomber that anyone who wants to sign him, how about you start trying now, because he's going to be sold by Brentford at the end of the campaign. So let me know your thoughts in the comment box below. Do you think this is like a wide opportunity for Arsenal to kind of start doing our groundwork on this deal? We know that Arsenal love to do deals a little bit earlier, or at least to start on the groundwork a little bit earlier. You see the Gabriel Jesus deal, you saw the Declan Rice deal. We take something like 6 months or even 7 months trying to convince a player, trying to work out the mathematics of the deal, and by the time we get to the summer, we are in a much better position to deal with whatever is thrown our way. But Ivan Toney, guys, there is a massive push from Thomas Frank. Arsenal can now start dreaming about signing Ivan Toney, at least about now. Now, of course, he was speaking to one of those outlets out there called the Tips Pilot, and he said Ivan Toney will most likely be sold in the summer. He will only have 1 year left on his contract with us, so it is quite obvious. The winter, this winter, we actually did not have any bids coming in for Ivan Toney for any other club. So that is according to Thomas Frank right there. He says Ivan Toney will most likely be sold in the summer. He will only have 1 year left on his contract with us, so it's quite obvious. This winter, we actually did not have any any offers coming in for the player, at least as far as the manager or the gaffer is concerned. So that is the big story from Thomas Frank. That is the update. And what he has done there, what Brentford have done there for me, is they have now just announced themselves as willing sellers, and there's so many clubs that are going to be all over this deal. There's so many clubs that are going to start looking for the number and contact of the agent of Ivan Toney, and they're going to call him up. Listen, you want to come to Tottenham? You want to come to Chelsea? You want to come to Arsenal? You want to come to AC Milan? I think there are going to be a couple of clubs. I think the competition is going to be very steep. So let's look at some of the things that I thought were actually in Arsenal's favor when they announced that they've literally officially begun the sale of Ivan Toney. They have literally announced that anyone who wants him, you can actually drop by and we see what your offer is. First and foremost, I think the manager is in a very clear situation, is in a very clear position when it comes to what this deal is all about. He was very strong in January. He said we don't see him leave. I don't see him leave, and we would be foolish for us to actually sell him. And guess what happened? No one actually came in for Ivan Toney, and no one actually signed Ivan Toney. So the manager will have known, and the manager always knows which players are part of the program, which players are going to leave, and which players are going to stay. So as much as he was confident that he was going to stay in January, always going to stay in January, he is very confident that he's losing Ivan Toney in the summer. So I think for me, this is kind of an open door now for Arsenal. Brentford have just used the open door policy. Can you now start doing your groundwork? Can we start talking to Brentford, maybe seeking these permissions to talk to the player? Because it's very similar to what happened with Declan Rice. Arsenal knew the player was never going to stay there, and Arsenal knew Declan Rice wants to leave. So we started talking to the player as early as January, and by the time we got to month 6 and 7, it was already clear. Declan Rice was always going to be an Arsenal player. So the door is wide open. It's going to have a lot of competition, so Arsenal can start now. However, there is a disadvantage to this. And why I think there's a disadvantage is the summer is always full of options, right? If you signed Ivan Toney right now, and I don't think Arsenal don't have their options right, I think we already know who we want to sign, for how much, and when. Is it going to be in the summer, first month of the summer, or second month of the summer, or in the dying days of the last of the transfer window? It's going to it will depend, and Arsenal already know what's going to happen. But I think in the summer you have options. Osimhen is going to be available for 100 million or even less than that. It will depend on the competition on that deal. Ivan Toney, I presume 70 to 80 million probably. He will be available as well. He's come back and he's done very, very well. Something that I say that Arsenal would benefit from if we don't sign him early. So you give him that time, he comes back, he plays football for Brentford, and then you can decide whether you want him to join your side or you actually don't want him to join your side. But the way he's come back, he's fresh, he's hungry, and he's very, very clinical. So will Arsenal now wait until the real summer to assess all these other options that we'll have, or are we now going to start working on the Ivan Toney deal because it's priority? I mean, there is Benjamin Sesko, there is Lautaro Martinez, there is, like I said, Osimhen, but you also have the likes of Lewis Openda, who we don't know whether are going to be available. You have the likes of Victor Boniface, who we don't know whether by that time he will have healed from his surgery and picked up his form again. So it's two-way. Arsenal can start working on this deal right now, which actually puts us in a pole position to sign Ivan Toney. He already wants the club, and it would be kind of a loyalty equalizer if Arsenal started working on this deal. It would show the player we're serious about him and he is our top priority. But that also means that you don't get to explore the market. You don't get to explore how much is Lewis Openda going to cost, how much is Victor Boniface going to cost, how much is Victor Osimhen's release clause going to come down by, and is Dusan Vlahovic going to be sold in the summer? All those questions can only be heard and answered in the summer. I don't think right now Arsenal are in a poor position to actually answer them, right? But if we want to look at options, then we wait until the summer. If we are sure Ivan Toney is the player we want and no one else, then we definitely sign him before even the summer begins. I think the other thing that is an advantage for this deal for us is FFP, and we couldn't sign him in January. We were never going to sign him in January. Our financial fair play position was horrendous, scary, and we were on the verge of breaking FFP rules. And I don't know how our accounting team has done it, but kudos to them. Arsenal are safe. So come the summer, Arsenal will have made some more money out of the UEFA Champions League and a couple of competitions that we are playing in, but also we can sell. We can sell, Edin Nketiah, we can sell Ramsdale, we can sell Partey, we can sell Jakub Kiwior, we can sell a couple of players that Mikel Arteta thinks need to move on or upgrade it upon. And again, that puts us in a much better position this summer to sign Ivan Toney as compared to January. January, who are you selling? To who and how much, right? I don't think clubs were really willing to spend a lot of money in fear of FFP. I was listening to TalkSport again this morning, and I think it was, Jim White, who was saying that Premier League teams this January transfer window have spent 100 million less than what they spent last January, and that is the effect of FFP. So it means that Arsenal didn't have the ability to sell, and therefore we didn't have the ability to buy. That is what the summer changes. That is what we're gonna get different in the summer. We come in the transfer summer stronger, with more money from competitions, from more money with more money from sales as well. So that is another advantage, and that is something that I thought we would talk about. But one thing that Arsenal are going to really benefit from is, and listen, the price tag of Ivan Toney. How much Ivan Toney is going to be costing? This is massive. This is huge. In January, they wanted 100 million to even listen, to even consider it. They wanted 100 million, and Arsenal said, listen, we are not giving you 100 million to listen to us. We are not giving you 100 million for a player who's been out for 8 months. Let him come back, play some football, and then we can talk about the pricing. So he's not signed a new deal at Brentford, which is very important to us, which is very important to anyone that is actually trying to sign Ivan. If he had signed a new deal and maybe had a release clause inserted, that would have been a disastrous, tragedy. But for now, he has not signed a new deal, and that means that his value is actually not just going up, his value is a little bit coming down because he's running into the last year of his deal, he's running into the last year of his contract. Now, I'm not saying that Arsenal can get him for 50 or 40 because he has 1 year left on his deal, next summer, but I think the region between 60 million and 80 million is highly plausible. I think it is highly possible that Arsenal sign him for less than 80, 90 million, right? And I think that is where we want to be. That is where we want to go. In order for us not to put ourselves in a precarious FFP situation again, get a goal scorer, really highly proven, highly rated. He knows the Premier League. He knows the levels of English football. For 80 million, that's good money. For 70 million, that is good money. And you're saving some money to spend on the wings and also on the defense as well. So that is, for me, the key part. No new deal for Ivan Toney. Brentford are in fear of losing him after his 1 year collapses, so they don't want to lose him on a free. They will be willing to compromise their standard. They will be willing to compromise how much they're asking for. I don't think they're gonna ask for 100 million. I don't think they're gonna ask for 90 million because they know no one is gonna pay that for. Not a world-class player, by the way. I don't think he's world-class. I don't think he's really top. I think he's a good striker for a good striker who's not even playing at a top side, right? So I think Arsenal will benefit in there. We can negotiate a deal for Toney at a very harmonious price, one that favors us and one that doesn't favor anyone else apart from us, as well. So let me know what you think about Ivan Toney. How much should we be willing to spend on Ivan Toney? There will be competition, but that is the only thing Brentford have. If the competition is not strong, they can't drive the price high. If the competition is strong, they can charge as much as they want. They can charge as hefty as they want as well. So that's what I thought about this deal. Maybe I looked at Ivan Toney's form ever since coming back, and it's something that we all have got to applaud him for. Like, coming from an extended period where you're not playing football to coming back into the squad and doing well and performing at that level, you've got to give him kudos. Kudos. I think it's kudos, not kudos. You've got to give him, the kudos. You've got to give him his flowers. He deserves them. He's a resilient guy. That is what we've seen. And he's a top player in terms of his mentality. In terms of what he's delivered, if he comes into Arsenal and he can deliver 18, 25 plus goals a season, then he's definitely going to be in that bracket of top player. But at the moment, I think he's a good player, but with a top class mentality. Regardless of how long you've not played football, regardless of where you've been training from, when you come back, be hungry and try to prove everyone wrong. Everyone, including myself. I kind of thought he would fail. I kind of thought this was a bad thing for him to happen at this point in his career. He was looking at a big money move. He was looking at a good season at a good club, maybe Arsenal, maybe Chelsea, and then this happened. I thought that would kind of deter him, but it hasn't deterred him. It has actually made him stronger and much better. So Ivan Toney, the race is open. Are Arsenal going to win it? That is a different story. That is a different question. I mean, do we have the financial power to win the race? We absolutely do. We have just signed a 100 million player, so we know Arsenal can spend 100 million on a player. Do we have the reason? Do we have the gravitational pull in terms of attractiveness? I think we do. We are in the Champions League. There is a guarantee that Arsenal will stay in the Champions League. And if we can go as far as the quarterfinals or semi-finals, then Ivan Toney might actually think he's one of the players that can actually complete the puzzle for Mikel Arteta. Let's see what happens out there in the comment box below. I want your thoughts. I want your opinions. Are we going to wait on, should we wait for options in the summer, or should we bump onto this deal right now, sign him, and then wait for him to arrive in the summer? My name is Cossy. I'll speak to you right in the next one.